Ancient Egypt is the first civilization that we'll study. This red circle shows you the area where ancient Egypt was in relation to the rest of the world. This map zooms in on Egypt. Ancient Egypt was a civilization that developed in the Nile River Valley. The Nile River is the world's longest river at 4,160 miles. It flows north to south and dumps into the Mediterranean Sea. The Nile has 6 cataracts, or waterfalls, which you can see in the top picture. The Nile splits into many branches before reaching the Mediterranean. These branches form a marshy, fan-shaped delta, and a delta is the name for an area at the end of the river. And you can see the Nile Delta in green on the map. Most of the area is dry desert, but as you can see from this picture, the area around the Nile River is green. This is because when the Nile floods, which happens every year from tropical rains in Central Africa, the river overflows and brings rich, fertile soil to the riverbanks. Plants and wildlife grow very easily in this dark, rich soil, which is why the area around the Nile appears green in this photograph. Ancient Egypt united into a civilization about 4000 BC and broke apart around 945 BC. The study of ancient Egypt is split into 3 time periods: the Old Kingdom starting in 3000 BC, the Middle Kingdom starting in 2050 BC, and the New Kingdom starting in 1600 BC. Around 3000 BC, an Egyptian leader named Menes created a kingdom that ruled all of Egypt from the capital city of Memphis. This picture is a statue of Menes' head, and the map shows the location of Memphis along the Nile River. Menes' rule was the beginning of the first Egyptian dynasty, or line of rulers from one family. In ancient Egypt, the king was seen as a god and had absolute power. The term for this is called a theocracy, or a government where a religious leader and a political leader are the same person. The king shared some responsibilities with a group of officials that he used to control trade and collect taxes. His officials also supervised building dams and canals to control water, and also creating storehouses for grains. In return, ancient Egyptians built pyramids to honor their god kings. During Egypt's Middle Kingdom, the capital was moved to the city of Thebes. Also, as you can see in this picture, Egyptians used to channel or try and control the movement of water to help with farming. This is called irrigation, and during the Middle Kingdom, the government used irrigation to create more farmland and to expand the civilization. The New Kingdom represents the final part of ancient Egyptian history. During the New Kingdom, kings began adopting the title of pharaoh, which we're familiar with today. Ancient Egypt expanded their land control rapidly, moving north, and in doing so they became an empire. However, it wasn't long before Egypt was weakened by attacks from sea raiders on the Mediterranean Sea, and this caused Egypt to begin to decline and fall apart. So that kind of shows you the political history, or the history of the government of Egypt. But now we're going to look at Egyptian society, which is how people organized themselves. At its height, Egypt was home to more than 5 million people, and these people were organized into social classes, or rankings, based on their job in society. The social pyramid of ancient Egypt was headed by the pharaoh, or god king. The next most important people in society were priests and nobles, who often worked closely with the pharaoh. Next were traders, artisans, shopkeepers, and scribes. Artisans are craftspeople. They create goods and art for a living, while scribes are responsible for writing and recording information. Then, farmers and herders were important because they produced food for the entire civilization to eat. Remember, the pharaoh, nobles, priests, artisans, none of those people were making food. Only the farmers and herders did that, so they were responsible for feeding everyone. At the bottom of the pyramid were the unskilled workers, the least valued members of ancient Egyptian life. The government used unskilled workers for public projects, but because there were so many, and they were easily replaced, they had the lowest social status. Egyptian life was guided by religion, and Egyptians were polytheistic, meaning that they believed in many gods. Egyptian gods and goddesses were often seen as part human and part animal. Some important gods were the sun god Ra, who you can see in this picture, the sky god Horus, and the god of the Nile, life, and death, Osiris. Egyptian religion stressed an afterlife, so Egyptians devoted much time and wealth to providing for survival in the next world. The earliest writing in ancient Egypt was a system of carved pictures, standing for objects, ideas, and sounds. These carved pictures were called hieroglyphics, and you can see some examples on the left. Even though they had this writing system, few people in ancient Egypt could read or write. However, some individuals prepared to be scribes in the government by going to special schools where they learned how to record hieroglyphics.